Meet Jack Lumber, a man who finds himself a year into the zombie apocalypse, separated from his group, and already bitten, with only a week to figure something out. There had been rumors that they were working on a cure in Knoxville County, and seeing as he's already been bitten, there'd be no better time to find out if these rumors were true than now. Jack begins his journey bitten on his left hand, bleeding, as well as a bit anxious and a tad weepy, which quickly devolves into full-blown depression. It is then that the pain begins to set in, and now the real challenge begins. Jack quickly obtains a digital watch and some upgrades for his bag. Deciding to act quickly given the situation, Jack rips up his tank top to bandage the now infected bite and heads outside. Our boy Jack decides to check the shed above the house to find anything to fight with, but only finds glue and sealant. As Jack jumps the fence, he becomes more depressed than ever, and an alarm begins blaring. Unsure if it's real or not, Jack retreats to the house where an unwelcome guest shows up in the window. After a rather comedic yet terrifying encounter, Jack finds sardines and takes a shirt for bandages. After a third alarm is triggered.
I don't know. Another alarm.
Jack chalks the noise up to his insanity or schizophrenia. One or the other. It has to be. Out of pure desperation, Jack takes a pencil as his only means of defense as zombies begin banging on a door somewhere in the house. Feeling the pressure beginning to build, he goes out the window. After stepping outside and assessing the situation, Jack decides that running would be the best option. After tripping on literally nothing, Jack jumps over a couple of fences, this time without being so depressed over it. After a short but tense chase sequence, Jack's able to eventually come to a house that luckily has an unlocked door as he seeks a moment of peace. However, panic quickly begins to set in as the doors begin to be attacked. Sensing that distance is the safest option, Jack decides to head out the front door. Down the street just a little ways, he decides to climb through the bathroom window of another house. Armed with only a pencil for defense, he goes into the laundry room and rips up a shirt for more bandages. Heading upstairs, Jack encounters two more zombies, one of which has a weapon that Jack desperately wants. After a short shoving contest between Jack and the two zombies, he obtains the greatest boon for this particular scenario, a fire axe. After grabbing himself a rubber duck friend, and after obtaining himself some vegetable soup, Jack decides it's time to go out the back door. As soon as he steps out the back door, he gets the perfect opportunity to test out his new weapon. After the successful field test of his new weapon, Jack gleefully scouts the next house and deals with the local inhabitants, and acquires a fanny pack in the process. The rest of the house holds nothing of value. Upon exiting the home, the welcome party arrives, and Jack does what he does best, and runs. After finding a somewhat safe area, Jack begins to weigh his options. he decides that the best course of action would be to jump the wooden fence, which, after a brief panic attack, he finds himself relatively safe once again. Jack cautiously moves forward, deciding to investigate the courthouse, hoping to find any kind of information or leads to the possibility of a cure. While in the courtroom, Jack has a hallucination of a zombie attacking him, causing both panic to me and Jack. After a little bit of exploration, Jack is grabbed by a zombie as he was searching a couple of the bodies. Twice. And just to add insult to injury, after his real friends show up and party with him, a fake friend shows up and just leaves. Rude. This is also where Jack loses his head. It is at this point that Mr. Limper decides that investigating this place was a waste of time and leaves out the window. At this point, he is hungry, depressed, terrified, thirsty, in pain, and cold. He desperately needed a break. Tiredness would begin to set in soon. By a stroke of luck, Jack was able to find a car with an unlocked door and a key. There was also a canteen with water and a pack of cigarettes. Our zombie buddies weren't just gonna sit there and let us have it, though. Unfortunately, the car is in not good enough condition to be able to run. As the fog begins to set in and gunfire rings in the distance, Jack does what he does best and begins to run. In desperation, he makes his way with a mad dash through the fields as a crowd starts to gather behind him. As the crowd continues to gather and tiredness begins to set in, Jack tries to make a last-ditch effort to lose them through the woods. While out in the woods, Jack gets grabbed again. In order to try to relieve some of the stress, Jack tries to smoke, forgets he needs a lighter, and a horde comes out of nowhere to attack him as he tries to smoke his cigarette, and Jack, being the brave man that he is, runs once again. After dealing with a relentless pursuer, Jack continues his journey through the woods, finally arriving at a remote house out in the middle of nowhere. Jack begins to scope out the surrounding perimeter before entering the home. Approaching the front door, Jack's emotions begin to run wild as he doesn't know exactly quite how to feel entering. Luckily, the door is unlocked, and there is no house alarm. A zombie awaits at the top of the stairs, and as it comes down, Jack quickly disposes of them. There is also another zombie waiting for him in the upstairs bedroom, to which Jack also quickly disposes of them. Jack decides the first thing to do if he's going to stay here is put the corpses in some kind of container as to not attract any of the other surrounding zombies. Afterward, Jack finds some food, cleans some of his bandages and his wounds, as well as refills his canteen. The only other thing of interest that Jack finds within the home is a knife, a secondary weapon in case his axe breaks. To close out his first day, Jack decides to close all the curtains on the bottom floor and clean himself up in the tub upstairs. After finding a second fanny pack, he takes another shirt for makeshift bandages and decides to lay down to go to bed.